Welcome everybody, it's episode 24 of the Braid and Tinker podcast. My name is Melanie and I am a knitter. This is a video cast mainly about knitting. Sometimes there's other stuff, but it's mainly knitting because I love knitting. Yes, happy 2019. It's January 1st. I hope I can upload this video today because that would be nice to have a video on the very first day of the year, but it doesn't really matter because why would it matter? I hope you all had a lovely New Year's Eve. We stayed in and watched the fireworks from our living room window because in the Netherlands people can light fireworks where they want, so on the street. In our neighborhood there's lots of people who are very enthusiastic about fireworks, so I don't go outside because I think it's scary. But other than that, it was a lovely quiet night in, apart from the fireworks, which sounded like I don't know, like a war zone. But we just watched some Netflix and had some champagne and had some, so they were sold out of oliebollen, which is like the Dutch sort of like traditional thing to eat. I sometimes make them myself, but I've been so stressed with work and just not feeling like doing anything when I get home that I just didn't feel like doing it. So I sent Derek out to get some oliebollen and they were sold out, so he got something that is equally deep fried and sweet and delicious, so that was also fine. So yeah, wasn't very not exciting, but it was very pleasant and calm, and I woke up quite well rested this morning, so that's always nice. I have some finished objects to share with you this week. Number one being the Gramps cardigan, which is a pattern by Tinker Knits. This has not been blocked yet, and so it's a finished object because I still want to put some pockets on the front. This is a cardigan I made for my son out of Drops yarn. I think it's Drops Charisma, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I might. Here we go. Drops Charisma in the dark mustard colorway, I think. It doesn't actually say on the ball band, but if you try and buy this, it will usually, the shop will tell you it's dark mustard. So I really like this pattern. It has a nice shawl collar, which you put up with short rows. It was actually quite easy. I was thinking about not doing buttons and just leaving it like this, but I have put in buttonholes in the button band. Where are they? Here. Just in case. If I want to put some buttons on later on, I can always use that. So I have the holes for the buttons. The yarn is soft, I would say, but it's not super soft, which is nice because I think it the way that it feels, I think it's going to last him quite a long time. So I really like this pattern, and I'm considering making one for myself out of the same yarn, or maybe even something different. But I saw that Drops Charisma had like a nice, like a wine red. It's thought it would be perfect to have like a wine red cardigan for myself. So I'm considering making that. Don't have concrete plans yet. Next up, so last episode I had shown you this cardigan, the Arboreal sweater, which I had steeked, and there were some minor things that I wasn't super happy with yet, like the neckband, which was very loose. So I've actually picked up stitches for the neckband and did some short row shaping in the back so that the neckband in the back is much higher than it was last time. So it fits much nicer at the moment. I'm really happy with it. It's much warmer, much more comfortable. It stays on better. And then I also added a little pocket for my phone, because there's only one pocket because I only have one phone. But I work at a big company and we have a big canteen on the ground floor, and our department is at the top floor. So when we go out to lunch, it's always like a big palaver because you're in like a team of people and you're like, oh, we all have to go exactly at the same time. Sorry. So we all have to go down exactly at the same time, and we're always waiting, and there's always someone going to the bathroom. So you're always kind of like standing around and waiting for other people. And so I like to have my phone with me. I don't really like leaving it at my desk unattended anyway. So I just needed, I mean, you can take it and hold it in your hand and then try and manage a plate and then put food on the plate, but it's just inconvenient. So I just thought I really would like a pocket here. So I added that, and it was actually very easy. And I found a tutorial, I think it's by Susan B. Anderson, and literally you're just picking up stitches from the bottom of where you want the pocket to be, and you essentially knit from that, and you knit a long flap with some like ribbing, and then all you do is you stitch up the sides of the pocket with some leftover yarn, and then you have a pocket. And it was literally the easiest thing I've ever done, and I hadn't really expected that. So I will be soon adding pockets to the Gramps cardigan for my son, because it is much easier than I thought it would be. So hooray. So I was finished with the Gramps cardigan, and I wanted to cast on something new, but hadn't really had a plan in mind, and I've been very, very bad about keeping my queue in Ravelry sort of in order. And I want to cast on the Sorbet cardigan, which I talked about last episode, but I don't really have the yarn for it yet. And honestly, I need to knit through my stash a little bit before I buy like sweater quantities of stuff. Not because I don't like my stash, not because I don't think people should have stash. It's just I don't really have a lot of space for stash anymore. So I really would feel more comfortable working through some of my stash first, making a bit more space, and then buying more sweater quantities, because I have really been enjoying knitting garments this year, or in 2018. So I'm not super sure how many sweaters or cardigans I've knit last year, but maybe I'll do a separate episode about that, because it was actually, you know, it's one of those things where if you don't do it, you think it's really hard, and then in the beginning it's a little bit hard because you're doing something new, and then after a while you've done it, and then you know it's actually not that hard. That sounds really weird, but that was my experience. It's actually been my experience with most things in knitting. So I just kind of picked something that I wanted to knit. And I have been wanting to knit the Wonder Woman shawl for quite a long time. It's just that I was having some issues with the colours, because I don't really particularly like red. Like the sort of like bright Christmassy red. And I don't know, I just thought it was very gimmicky to knit that in like a red and gold colour and walk around the street with that. So what I did was I chose two yarns that are a bit more muted, I guess, and I'm knitting with those. And so someone on Instagram was knitting socks out of her skein of Fool's Gold from Hedgehog Fibers, and I had a skein of Fool's Gold, and it was like one of those skeins of yarn that you kind of hoard it, and you think, oh, this is like, I really, really like it, so I don't want to knit with it. I want to keep it pristine. And then I kind of just got over that, and I thought, if she can knit socks with her Fool's Gold, I can just use it and knit mine and have, you know, fun with it. So that's what I did. So hang on, this is the Fool's Gold, and this is a skein of yarn by, here it is, Schapendraak, and the color is Toffe Toffe, and the other one is just hedgehog fiber stock yarn in Fool's Gold. Woo! That's the other one. So this is the Schapendraak. This is a BFL nylon. This is a merino nylon. I'm not like 100% certain about the color combination. I will be perfectly honest with you. I'm just not super sure on it, but have been having a lot of fun knitting on it, so I think I'm just gonna go with it. So the idea is that the grey is the backdrop and that the Fool's Gold is going to be the big W that makes the shawl. The pattern is free and it's by Carissa Browning, and it's well enough written. It has a lot of do this, do that, now repeat that for 10 rows, which I'm always like, ugh, I have to keep track of how many times I do that. And there's a lot of, obviously, increases and decreases to get the shapes, and then there's a lot of short row sections. So if you don't like short rows or like a ton of increases and decreases, this is probably not for you. But other than that, other than the decreases and short rows, it's garter stitch, so it's quite squishy, and like you have on one row you do all the decreases and increases and short rows, and on the back row, the second row, is always just, you know, just knitting stitch. So in that sense, some of it is quite mindless. So I wouldn't say it's a difficult pattern. It's just maybe there might be parts that are not for everybody, but I think it'll be really nice, and I'm really curious to see how this finishes up. And it feels really good to be knitting up some of my stash, so I'm happy about that. Last episode I talked about how I had unraveled some socks where I was trying to kind of make up a knitting pattern for the socks, and it didn't really work out. So I had just unraveled the socks, and it was kind of lying around. And then last night I thought, ooh, I actually would like to do some socks for New Year's Eve cast on. So I did that, and I picked up that skein of yarn, which is something I dyed, I think, at the end of 2017, but it could be the beginning of 2018. And I'm knitting with it, and I'm just making blueberry waffle socks. I have a pair of blueberry waffle socks, but the yarn I used was, I wouldn't say cheap, but I don't really like the quality of the yarn. So it's kind of, I've worn them a lot though, but they haven't held up amazingly. So yeah, I think at some point I will be throwing those out. So it will be nice to have a nice replacement, because I do really like the texture of the blueberry waffle sock, and it's not a difficult pattern. It's quite nice to do when you're watching telly and, you know, just want something. It has a little bit more interest than a vanilla sock, but it's easy enough, I would say. So really enjoying those. So that was also a new cast on. I haven't really touched any other whips, even though I should have, but I will. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly touch upon like make 9. I think a lot of people are doing like a make 9 in where they pick 9 patterns that they want to knit for in 2019, and then you put them together in like a 3x3 grid, and then you make square, and then it looks nice on Instagram. And I thought about doing that, but then I thought I'm really bad at following my own rules, and I should really just use Ravelry queue better. So I've been trying to clean up my Ravelry queue and put stuff in that I like and remove stuff that I'm probably never going to knit anyway. And yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing up until now. This morning I was watching the Instagram stories of Yarn Hoarder, and what she's been doing is going through her stash and thinking, what is something I can knit with this that I want to knit, and then printing out that pattern and putting it together with the yarn in a plastic box. And I think that's really, really clever, and it probably makes it sort of like where your knitting queue is something physical, and obviously this is not something that everybody's going to have space for. But I might do that. You sort of like go through my stash and go, what am I going to knit with this? You know, because I have like some yarns that I've had for a long time that are really nice, but then I just, because you're always looking to the newest thing, changing your mind and that kind of stuff. So, you know, it'll be good to kind of go through stash and see what I have and post it on Ravelry and see if there's patterns that I can make with that. So it's kind of something I want to do for the new year. It's just knit more out of stash. Not because I don't think stash is fine. It's just that I don't really have enough space for stash. So it was Christmas last week, and I was in 2 Secret Santas, one with my family and one with Derek's family. And so I got lots of knitting presents, which is always nice. And this, I got this lovely sock set from one of my Secret Santas. And it's from Studio Mace, which is in, I think, Ghent. Yeah, in Belgium. And it's a really nice sock yarn in the colour Plum. And it has 2 mini skeins in a nice grey colour. And there's like a tiny stitch marker. It looks like a 3D printed stitch marker attached to one of the minis. I really like this. It says a minimalistic yarn for traditional crafts, and I think this is quite a minimalistic yarn, and it's really nice, and I think I will cast it on soon for some socks. I really like sock kits, but I don't always want to use the minis for that particular sock, but it's the good thing about minis is you can use them for everything, so it doesn't really matter. Yes, next up I got this amazing book, Vintage Shetland by Susan Crawford. And you probably all know this book because it's been quite popular when it came out earlier 2018. So I won't show you everything, but I just wanted to point out one of the cardigans that I really like. And of course I didn't put, I immediately found it, which is pretty unusual for me. One of the cardigans that I really like and would like to knit at some point is the Margaret cardigan. And it just looks like a really nice, comfortable, sort of oversized colourwork cardigan. So, I don't know, I was going through the book and that one immediately popped out to me. So I want to get some yarn for that soon as well, after I've knitted through some of my stash. One of the other things I got and that I've been using to keep my New Year's Eve cast on socks in is this lovely bag with neon cats on it. I think it's so cute. So that, and then I also got a whole bunch of silk yarns from Knitting for Olive. And I got a whole bag of colours, and it's very soft. And I think it's going to be great for some spring and summer knits, because silk is a much lighter fabric than wool, obviously. So I think it'll be really nice to use for some summer knits. I have one of the pom-pom pom-pom magazines from last summer that had like all the stripy garments. Lots of those patterns were linen or silk and that kind of thing. So I think this will work out really, really nicely for that. And so I know I've been saying this entire episode that I'm going to be knitting through a whole bunch of stash, but on Saturday Derek and I went to town, and of course I had to go to the yarn store because I was actually, honestly, I was looking for some mohair to knit the Sorbet cardigan, because that's like all mohair held double, and they only had Rowan, which is about 3 times as much money as I want to spend on a ball of mohair, so I don't think I'm going to choose that one. I put it back, but I did find some amazing yarn by Ullcentrum, which is a Swedish wool, and this one is kind of I would say like a burgundy. I'm not sure it's showing up on camera. This is more of a mustard color, and I think they go together so well. And it's actually, because you would think this is like, because it is quite a rustic yarn, but it's not super scratchy, and you can still feel a lot of the lanolin in it, and I have a feeling that once this is blocked it softens up quite substantially. So I want to make a Harlow hat out of this, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. It's a brioche hat, so you use 2 colours, and then because you use a tubular cast on, you can use the hat inside out, like you can wear it both ways essentially. So that's those. So last episode I talked about Blanket Club, which is the mini skein club that I have started on Etsy. And it's a 3-month subscription club, and every month you get 3 minis. So in the end you'll have 9 hand-dyed different minis that you can use in a blanket project. Obviously you can use it for anything else, doesn't really matter. And every month is going to be themed and wrapped nicely, and I'm really excited about this, so I'm obviously going to put a lot of time into it, but I do have to close the listing pretty soon, namely on Sunday the 6th of January. So the entire Sunday you can still sign up at the end of Sunday, and that will be Dutch Sunday, so you'll have to calculate that. Because after that I'm going to need some time to dye the yarns and prepare everything and make sure I will be able to send it out at the end of January for the first club, because the 2 other clubs will be sent at the end of February and the end of March. And then after that I will probably assess how, if I enjoy the process, and then maybe start a new club for the 2nd quarter, but we're not there yet. I haven't even sent out the first batch. But so if you want to sign up for Blanket Club and get 3 minis every month in your mailbox, you can go to BraidAndTinker.etsy.com, and you will find the listing at the top of the page for Blanket Club, and that's where you can sign up. And there is a shipping fee that you pay once, and it includes all the shipping for all 3 shipments. So it's just, you just pay that one thing and then that's done, and then you get your 3 packages in the mail. So that listing is closing on Sunday. So if you wanted to, if you were thinking about joining, now's the time. I think that's it now. This has been a very weird episode. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit, I still have a cold. Work is going horrible at the moment. It's really, really busy, and I have been really, really stressed and not enjoying any of it at the moment. So that's a bit crap. But hopefully it will get better in the coming weeks. I hope you will have a fantastic 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.